I'm quite sure that you had a few days of good time during the Durga Puja. Few get together, few celebration, at least not so much of social distancing but social bonding. Anyways, it was a good occasion for you, for us to celebrate. But the show must go on. Dear 10th, the time is already ripe for you to begin, or those who have already began to continue to prepare yourself for your final exams. Today we shall be continuing the topic that we have already started, the transport system of India. Last time we did, in the last videography, we did discuss about the roadways. Today we'll be discussing about the railways, followed by the waterways. So let's proceed. So, Indian railways are the most important mode of transport in our country. It can be correctly explained as the nation's lifeline because so much of traveling and transport take place via these means. The first railway line was laid down in 1853 between Mumbai and Thane. It was only just 34 kilometers, but the Indian railway system is the largest in Asia and obviously the third largest in the whole world after USA and Canada. The Indian Railways is the largest public undertaking run by the Union government, means central government. The railway system is directly under the central government. So the rail route extends up till 65,000 kilometer, and India is producing itself by our own country the railways, engines, coaches, wagons, etc. to fulfill the needs or the requirements of the country. Now, railway network works on mainly on three gauges. Gauges is not gauge; it's called gauge. Gauges. Okay, the most important gauge is obviously number one is the broad gauge, which is 1.6 plus meters. That means it is more than 1 meter. And second is of course the by name itself called the meter gauge. Obviously, it is exactly 1 meter or 100 centimeters. What is that 1 meter 100 centimeters? What is this? It is the distance between the two rails. Okay, the rod that you can see that is lying on the ground and on which the train moves, that's why it's called railways, because moves on the rail. That's called railways. The difference between the two rails will be in the on the basis of broad gauge or the meter gauge, and of course less than 1 meter is called the narrow gauge. Obviously this is not for the main purpose of transport in the we call the main country, mean the sense main parts of the country. It is mainly used for some places where it is very difficult to otherwise to have the broad gauge or meter gauge, and for some kind of entertainment purpose. Now in detail, you are supposed to know the detail about the broad gauge. Broad gauge links earlier, obviously it was like the major cities, the metro police or cosmopolitan cities of India, that is Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi. However, now the broad gauge is all over the country. Obviously there are, other than four cities, there are so many big cities are there. Now this is 74 and percent and plus the total route length is covered by the broad gauge, and it is considered as the best gauge in India. Some few more details is there. These are all flexible because when the book was written it was only 54,600, today maybe 70,000 plus. Now the meter gauge, what you are supposed to know the name and as it defines. So meter gauge obviously exactly the difference between the two rail is 1 meter or 100 centimeter. So 7,500 kilometer is found mainly in the northern UP, that is Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Assam, and parts of western Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. It covers only 21% of the total route length. Narrow gauge, its operates mainly in the hilly regions due to steep gradient. Okay, I told you earlier that narrow gauge is not very popular and its service or purpose is not as is called important as the service given by the broad gauge and the meter gauge, especially the broad gauge. Now narrow gauge we will find between Kalka and Shimla, Siliguri. These routes are rail routes are not very long in distance. So Siliguri, between Siliguri and Darjeeling is a very famous narrow gauge where we have got the toy trains. And now in the south, of course, you have got in the Blue Mountain Express in Uti. Uti also has become very famous for these toy trains. Now the total length is, if you see, only 2400 kilometer. You can see. Now this is you can see the roughly the layout of our Indian railways. Obviously, if you see this picture, you may not figure out so much. Okay, you may not figure out so much because it is shown only some major railway tracks. However, it is much more wide and much more extensive. Let's go for the next point. That is the advantages of railways and disadvantages of railways. Advantages over what? Over the other what is called transport system. Advantage is what? Railway makes traveling easier as it is from one corner to other corner of the country. Railways have helped to distribute agricultural products in a better way. It has solved the labor problems also. That means so many people are engaged, they are employed to facilitate the running of the railways. But we feel really sorry for so many people. You know, you must have heard that recently because of a pandemic, quite good many of the jobs were been curtailed by the railway companies because there were no job for them, no work for them. But anyhow, hope things will become again normal, and many more thousands of people will have the scope of joining their job in the railways. Anyhow, it has a broad unity in diversity. Besides having, it is comfortable, it is time saving, etc, etc. Now disadvantages. Railways need heavy expenditure for construction and maintenance, especially train moves on the rails, and to to build those rails, and if it is electric line, obviously the supply of electricity, electric poles, so it is a heavy investment, so that's expenditure is quite high. Although traveling by railways is convenient, but expenditure wise it is very high. Railways cannot pick up or put down passengers or loads from obviously door to door. To that, in that aspect, roadways will be better. The different gauge systems proved very inconvenient and time consuming for passengers and goods traffic. Due to steepness of the gradient of the hilly region, only narrow gauge can be used for transport in the hilly regions. This is some risk. These are actually the risk called limitations. It's not called actually disadvantage, limitations, because you know rail is quite long, so many coaches it pulls, and if the gradient is quite steep, obviously it will be difficult for the railway engines to pull it. So with this we come to the end of the discussion of the railways. You are supposed to remember uh, some of the facts, like this is the second or first in Asia and third in the world. And of course there are three gauges: meter gauge, broad gauge and narrow gauge. And where are they important and which part of the this called country they are widespread. Advantages and disadvantages, solid three or four advantages and disadvantages. We move to the next phase, that is obviously the waterways. Now, right from the beginning, waterway is the oldest and cheapest form of transport in India. Inland water transport has lost its former importance because of the expansion of the railways, roadways, even airways also. Now, inland waterways constitute navigable rivers, canals, backwaters. You know, the mostly South India, especially Kerala, is very much known for backwaters. I had good privilege once to go and visit the backwaters. If you also have some time, please go and visit obviously the backwaters. But they are not only for our entertainment sake, but they are also very good for in the Kerala, especially for transportation. They are primarily used for transporting heavy goods, passengers within a country at a low cost. Now, since time immemorial, that means right from the beginning, for long, long time, India has been well known for its seafaring activities, means surfacing, traveling over the seas, overseas. Waterways are the cheapest form of transport suitable for carrying heavy and bulky goods. Uh, it is a fuel, it's called efficient and environment friendly means of transport. Water transport is in India is mainly confined to it's called navigable rivers, canals, and backwaters. Most of the rivers in peninsular India are seasonal, so the Ganga and Brahmaputra, remember these two rivers, Ganga and Brahmaputra, are the only river that has got the inland waterways transport system. Now there are some like national highway, about a national waterways also. The number one national waterway is between the Ganga river between Allahabad and Haldia. Allahabad is in Uttar Pradesh. You know it very well. The place of Agra, the first wonder of the world, Taj Mahal, and of course Haldia. It is the subsidiary. It is called. It is the port which is now supporting Kolkata. National waterways number two, it is between Brahmaputra, it is in the Brahmaputra river between Sadia and Dhubri. And national waterways number three is the West Coast Canal in Kerala. There are some, apart from these national waterways, there are some other is called waterways are there in river Godavari, Krishna, in the Sundarban regions, Damodar Valley. Our DVC, our Damodar River also is quite famous for the Damodar River Valley or Damodar Valley Corporation canals. Okay, so now the major seaports, that was the inland. Okay, now the major seaports of India. Okay, now India has a long coastline, it is 7,500 plus. So you can imagine how many seaports are there, and there are more than 200 minor ports, 12 major ports and 200 minor ports. We are just confined to only few. We know the name of Kolkata, Mumbai, Chennai. Okay, there are so many 200 minor ports and 12 major ports. Anyhow, let's talk about the number one, the most important seaport on the western coast of India is Mumbai, the business capital of India, Mumbai. Now, it is located on the west coast of India. It is the biggest port with a spacious, natural, and well-sheltered harbor. Point to be noted, it is a natural harbor. It's a plus point. Now, it handles about one-fifth of India's foreign trade, mainly oil from the Gulf countries and other products from the Western and East African countries. Children, you are supposed to remember the at least two, it is called benefits or advantages, or the type of service that is rendered by the seaport. So Mumbai, if we talk about Mumbai, then obviously if we talk about this is the major, it is called seaport for transacting or rather bringing importing oil from the Gulf countries, and it has got a vast hinterland rich in agriculture, and is a dense network of roads and railways connects Mumbai to the other parts of country. The main items of exports are okay, exports. India is famous for exports also. They're mainly the cotton textiles, leather, tobacco, chemical goods, machinery, and it imports also crude oil from the Gulf countries and other type of raw cotton. Although India has got lots of cotton, but India, the long staple cotton are exported to India. And there are so many drugs, means medicinal instruments. Don't get confused with the word drugs instrument. This is actually the medicinal instruments. Jawaharlal Nehru Port. This is something new. Earlier, it was known as Nava Sheva Port. It was opened on May 1989 with the main purpose of releasing pressure on the Mumbai port. So Mumbai port is having lots of pressure. So it is a kind of subsidiary or substitute. It is a kind of a help. It's kind of help. It's a help. Okay, help to the Mumbai port. So it is equipped to be the most modern facilities and at present handles about 45 lakh metric tons of cargo. That is the goods. Now, Khandla, it is in the Gulf of Kutch. It is in Gujarat. Was constructed in 1951 due to the loss of Karachi after independence. That is independence. Pakistan got separated, so we had to have now our own port. That is now Khandla. It handles the trade of oil, fertilizers, food grains, salt, cotton, cement, sugar, etc. It has a very large hinterland and is well connected to all parts of the country. Now Marmagao port, it is in Goa. It is the main exporter of iron ore. 50% of India's iron ore is exported through this port, seaport, of course. The other items of exports are manganese, coconut, cotton, and the other nuts. New Mangalore. It is also in the western coast. It is an important port located in the southern tip of Karnataka coast. So it was upgraded to accommodate bigger ships. Bigger ships. Okay, not all the ports can accommodate the bigger ship. Like Kolkata, bigger ships will not enter because Kolkata is quite inside. Is more than 100 kilometers inside the sea from Sundarban region or from Haldia region. Okay, so bigger ships cannot enter because the river Ganga, rather the river Hooghly, is no more is deep because of the pollutions, and lots of deposits are taking place uh, from various cities. So Marmagao port is, New Mangalore. It is an important port located at the southern tip of Karnataka coast. It was upgraded to accommodate bigger ships, as you're talking about the bigger ships, by constructing a harbor. So it is not a natural port. It is a natural harbor. Artificial. They have to make it. Tea, coffee, rice, cashew nuts. South India, especially Karnataka and all the regions, have got plenty of cashew nuts. Fish, rubber, etc. are exported, and is also exports are iron ore from the Kundarmukh mines, and imports crude oil, fertilizers, edible oils, etc. Kochi is in Kerala. Is a natural harbor located on the west coast of India in the state of Kerala. It is the added advantage of a sheltered backwater bay, and has a shipbuilding center too. So it exports tea, coffee, and spices. Kerala, is mainly known for all these, especially coffee and spices, and tea, because Kerala had some hills where tea grows quite well. Now, seaports of eastern coast of India, Kolkata is the most famous one, the largest one, of course, maybe one of the oldest one, and it is known as the gateway to eastern India too, as it handles goods coming from Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, all come to Kolkata, and from Kolkata, obviously it was earlier, now of course each country has their own, but still the name, it is the gateway to Eastern India. Good. It exports mainly the jute products. West Bengal is known for jute, tea from Darjeeling and other places. Even it comes all the way from Assam, coal, all the Jharia belt and all, coal, steel, iron ore, copper, leather, etc. And it imports machinery, crude oil, paper, fertilizer, etc. Again, children, I remind you that you are supposed to know where is located the whatever the port is, where it is located, and what are its exports and imports goods. Now there is a problem with this particular port now. This port is now suffering from the problems due to silt. As I told you earlier, it is located on the banks of river Hooghly, and things have eased out slightly due to the construction of the Farakka barrage also. Now Kolkata has a vast hinterland comprising mainly the north and northeastern states. Haldia Haldia has been developed to release the congestion, the pressure at the Kolkata port. So it mainly accommodates the larger vessels. Large vessels cannot enter the city of, the port, the river port. It's a river port, okay? River port of Kolkata, because it cannot, the depth is not enough for the Hooghly River to support the big ships to ply through. Anyways, so Haldia has been developed to give a support to Kolkata port. It is important for its petrochemical plant, oil refinery and fertilizer factory. Haldia itself has got all these new ultra modern high tech companies and factories have developed to produce petrochemicals, refineries and fertilizer. The main items exported from here are mineral oil and petroleum products. The main problem it faces is that of silting by the river nearby. There is called Paradip is in Odisha, is also located on the eastern coast of India and mainly exports iron ore and coal to Japan. Visakhapatnam is located in the state of Andhra Pradesh and is the deepest landlocked port. The main items of export are iron ore from the Vailadila mines, manganese ore, wood and spices. It imports also mineral oil, coal, luxury items, etc. etc. Visakhapatnam has perhaps the largest shipbuilding industry in India. Chennai. Chennai is located on the east coast of India and has an artificial harbor. The major items it exports are rice, textiles, leather goods, coffee, fish, coconut, copra, etc. etc. It imports coal, crude oil, pepper, cotton, etc. It suffers a major disadvantage due to the cyclones. Every now and then, Chennai faces the cyclonic problems. Tuticorin has been recently developed again to reduce little bit of pressure of Chennai. So it is also in Tamil Nadu to carry the trade with Sri Lanka. Its main trade includes the coal, salt, food grains, edible oils, sugar and petroleum, or it's called products. Now this is a rough, it is more or less you've got again a sketch of the Indian major ports. You see Kandla here, then Mumbai, then Marmagao, then you have got here they have not given the Kochi is here. Then Chennai, Nagapattinam is also a very famous one, but they have not mentioned here. Visakhapatnam and then Kolkata obviously is here. Let's proceed with the advantages of the waterways. Waterways are the cheapest means of transport. No need to construct waterways, like the roads, roadways, roads, railways, rail track, etc. etc. So it is God-given gift. So just you have to have the good vessels and a very good harbor. Now disadvantages of waterways. Obviously, it is very slow mode of transport. If you have to basically in a hurry to transport certain things to somewhere, so it cannot be. So it is a very slow mode. During dry period, especially when it is inland, silting of the river bed reduces the depth and creates problems. Otherwise, obviously it is slow mode, but it is cheaper also. Now again and again I would always suggest to you, please refer some other books, especially together with, okay, especially together with, I will always say that please refer to together with, okay, and do study question answers. This is the theories that I have given you as an explanation what is you're supposed to have, but please study together with question answer, and that will help you to prepare yourself for your final exam. Wish you all the best. Be safe, remain safe. God bless you.